Good morning to everyone out there. How are you doing? I'm Zach Clayton, the founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. We have a full house today. We've still got a couple people trying to connect. Our guest for today is a good friend of, well, now all of ours, but came to us through Mr. Patrick. So we'll have Patrick going ahead and do the introduction here in a little bit. But first, let's start out with the great news and the newest addition to the family. We're going to start out with Stephanie, the goddess of the grape, with her new little grape.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Simoes. Here, I'll show you the new little grape really quickly here. She's sleeping. Selena Grace. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date. So what I do is I specialize with fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift, it's really a great feeling to know that that bottle of wine is making an impact for a charity of your choice, which is really fun. I am also the co-founder of P&S Properties. We're a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing, and we're working to build veteran communities, housing, and provide support and resources. So really happy to be here. Excited to hear from Joanna. I wear a lot of hats, but feel free to connect with me through my link tree. All my social contacts are there.
And just to give everybody kind of a preview, coming up this month on our Community Pay It Forward One Hope Wine Show, our guest this month is going to be Patrick. So we're going to be able to raise money for all the work that he's doing. So, but next up is Mr. Dennis Schroeder. Hey, check it out. I actually got your name right this time.
Yay. Well, thank you so much.
Small victories.
Yes, my name is Dennis Schroeder. I am retired Army officer, live in Middle Tennessee, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to telling the complete life stories of those who died in military service to our nation, who are no longer around to tell the story for themselves. And this is for any reason that they passed, whether it was combat action, whether it was training accident, whether it was automobile accident, or even suicide. So this is to fill a gap that's currently unfilled for Gold Star families and the veterans who have lost comrades. And that's you can see the ways to reach us. So glad to be here and glad to know Joanna, and excited to be part of this conversation.
And if you go back on our Facebook pages, you can watch more about Dennis's story in week number 1, the show that we initially labeled Mayday, We Have a Problem. Dennis was our guest, and he was talking about that. So going ahead and head on over to our YouTube channel, and you can watch that. So welcome, Dennis. It's good to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Next up, the Z with the plan. Mr. Z, how are you doing, brother?
Doing okay, brother, man. And as far as we can see, you are the Z with the plan. I'm just the Z that sticks around. I want to say very nice to meet you, Joanna, and congratulations, Steph, on the newest grape of your collection. So great to see that. and her. And of course, thank you, brother man, for having me and for having all of our veterans here as well. So with that being said, my name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, veteran business owners, and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are looking to modify, maintain, develop, or redevelop a custom website Z World is waiting for. Thank you very much, and back to you. Muscle memory.
Thank you. And as always, brother, it's great to see you. Next up,
Likewise.
we've got the host of today, and that's Mr. Patrick. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, brother? So my name is
Doing good, Patrick. Tell us about yourself, and then I'm going to ask you to go on ahead and do the introduction, please.
okay, I can do that. So my name is Patrick Myers. I am the founder of Call Edge Global, which is a organization where its purpose is to get the gospel out on as many platforms as possible: social media, podcasting, books, and nonprofits that serve the community. I'm an entrepreneur and a ministry architect slash planter. Um, so today we have Joanna Daniels, a dear friend of mine. I met her probably close to, wow, it's been about 4 months now, and just a great woman of God. One of those people that, um, when it comes to this youth and the agendas that are coming to you, she's one that fights fiercely for them to understand their identities in Christ, and um, just works tirelessly. I really feel like, um, on a level sometimes I wish I could, to do these things. She works with the organization. She can tell a little bit more about the organization that she works with, but it's just an honor and a pleasure to have her here today, um, to tell her story and what it is that she does. So I hope you guys will be blessed by it too. Well, I know you will.
Well, welcome, Joanna. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I feel so blessed to be here. Honestly, I so appreciate you guys having me on, and appreciate everything that you all are doing. It truly is a blessing to be here today. Thank you.
Well, why don't we go on ahead and start with teensunitesummer.com. And did we get that wrong? Is it Summer or Sumner?
Sumner. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Sumner. Yep. All right. So, phew. Okay. Yep. I thought maybe I messed up and pressed a button or something. Why don't you go on ahead and tell us a little about that?
Well, it's Teens Unite Sumner because we're in Sumner County, Tennessee, and we wanted to make it specific to Sumner County right now, because with the hopes that maybe it'll go into other counties, So anyway, so Teens Unite, it came out of a lot of prayer, a whole lot of prayer. My gosh, I think we prayed on this for weeks, just to figure out what it is. And this all started a few years ago, actually, after COVID. I moved to Tennessee from San Diego, California. I was a refugee from California, went to Sumner County, and went to Tennessee, and went there, and 2020 hit, and I got very involved in the local government there. And then in 2021, I found out what was happening in the schools. And so that was the formation of my organization called Safeguard Our Schools. And so for the last 2 years, the school board in Sumner County has become very familiar with me, and I've become very familiar with them. And so God's just put it on my heart for the children and what they're going on in public schools. And so got a lot of people together. I met Patrick through a divine appointment. And we all got together and started praying and saying, you know, what can we do? What is it that God, what is it that you want us to do? And God gave us a vision for Teens Unite. And it's going to be a 5-part summer series for teens. And we want them to share with their voice what's going on and how we can support them.
Well, I know that you've got me hooked because you're giving away free cakes, snow cones, and cotton candy. So I'm going to try to find a way to get there.
Okay.
So, you know, you start talking about food and I'm all in. This, how long have you been doing this, Joanna?
Well, you know, Teens Unite is new. I've been doing Safeguard Our Schools since 2021, August of 2021. That was God too, because you know I was very involved. I've been involved in fighting for our freedoms and maintaining our freedoms since I was 19 years old, but in a different realm. And then when I came to Tennessee, and I don't have children in school. My kiddos are, gosh, how old are they now? 34 and 28. No, 29. Sorry. And I have a 4-year-old grandbaby, and so I don't have children in school. But when I found out what was happening in schools, it broke my heart because, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you know, a lot of people are homeschooling and people are like, well, just pull your kids out, just homeschool. Well, my mom was a single parent of 4, and, you know, we didn't have the option of homeschooling. So we had to go through the public school system. And I was like, well, you know, not everyone can homeschool. So I need to find out what's going on in these public schools. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, but in the last about 20, 25 years, schooling has really changed a whole lot. And I started looking into it, and I was just amazed. I was amazed at what was going on in schools, and even changed from when my kids went to school. And I was like, what is going on here? And so so we had a big event in August of 2021 that by the grace of God, we got 3 school board members out of it. We got, I think it was 6 or 7 county commissioners out of it. And all of this because people were like, this is what's going on in school? What? And it was all by the grace of God. It was not me. I mean, God showed up, God anointed that. And then the last 2 years, there's been a lot of change, great change in Sumner County. And then I was like, really feeling like we need to support the kids even more, because this past year, it's just been even more intense in what's going on. And so we prayed about it, and we felt, you know what, there's a lot of adults talking right now. I think we need the teenagers to talk, and we need them to take responsibility too. And for them to get the confidence to actually get in the fight, because it is their fight, if that makes sense.
We were kind of talking about this before we came on the air, and we are asking a lot of kids nowadays, unfairly, we're asking them to make certain choices. Yet we're not always listening to what they have to say. What do we need to do better to support our kids and to help them make, and regardless of views, they've got to make educated long-term decisions on a lot of this stuff? So
Mhm.
what do we have to do, Joanna, to help them learn how to do that?
Well, what I really think that, first of all, my confidence is in Christ, and so I'm always going to come from a Christ perspective. And when you have Christ in your life, and when you are centered there, then you have an abundance of courage. You have an abundance of confidence. I mean, it's endless because it's in Christ. And you know. I don't know if I just came out the womb weird. I don't know, but um, I know, and it's probably because my mom is a single parent of four, and I'm the oldest. You know what I mean? So there's a whole lot of growing up really quickly when you're the oldest of four. But I remember at 11 and 12 years old organizing park cleanups. Going, I saw like it's dirty here. And I was like, I think we need to organize a cleanup, and at 11 and 12 years old. And I think it was just taking on responsibility. And I think that what we also need to instill in in students of today is that they're actually adults, in the sense of they can make life altering decisions, and there's consequences to them. And also in this fight of what's going on in the schools, their voice means a whole lot, and they need to voice it. And I think the number one thing is that in the school systems today, they're teaching that parents don't know anything. They're breaking that child parent bond, and they're making teachers be the authoritative. Teachers know more. Teachers are the trusted person to go to. The school counselor is really where you get your confidence from, and where you can really actually be honest. No, it's your parents. It's your parents. And that's what we have to really fight against, this culture, is that no, get that parent and child bond back. And because your parents are the ones that are going to fight for you. But of course, there's the exceptions. There's going to be bad parents out there, but majority of parents really do care for their kids and want the best for them.
As a parent, though, we need to really, really check our biases, do we not?
Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Like, we have to make sure that we're listening to the kids, and we're not using every experience that we've went through as a definition of as a direction to them. We can explain to them what we've been through, but we can't tell them this is what's going to happen to you if you make this choice. We can't be hard-fisted when we come at them and say, no, that choice you want is stupid. You need, we got to soften up a little bit and let them explore, do we not?
I'm old school. But I think that sometimes I kind of feel that we're a little too soft sometimes, honestly, in this world of today. I'll be honest. But I also think that, like, my mom always heard me out. Okay. Because anybody, I don't care how old you are, you can be 2 years old to 102 years old. You want to be heard. That's the biggest thing. Now, there's being heard. That's fine. But then there's justifying what you said. And so, I hear you. I hear where you're coming from, but it doesn't mean that how you feel or where you're coming from is the right place. And so I think that's where wisdom as a parent, we have to either, I mean, of course, you can't generalize every conversation. If it's a dangerous conversation, you guys say, no, you definitely not going to go do that.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
if it's like then you kind of, go, okay, I hear where you're coming from, but can I share a little wisdom with you from where I'm coming from? And then let's take a look at this together. But I also do feel that, what's being taught in school is called social emotional learning, where every feeling that you have is justified, and you need to go with it, and that feeling is valid, and everything. And not every feeling is valid. Not every thought is a valid thought. I mean, that's where, as a Christian, you're supposed to take captive every thought and hold it against, Christ, and go, is this a valid thought, or is this a valid feeling? And being married now for 18 years, you got to figure out those feelings and go, hey.
Yeah, that's when you really question yourself. Is this a valid feeling? Is this a valid thought?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and no, I love the way that you said that, because it's not one of those things, if my son comes up to me and he's saying something that is just completely out there, I'm going to say, look, I love it, but really, but I mean, one of the examples on what I was talking about, my oldest son, who is 29, we're in the same boat here. And he had a dream as a child that he wanted to be in professional wrestling. He also loves teaching kids. So now he is in Japan teaching kindergarten and professional wrestling. So I told him the thing is that, look, the only thing that you can't do is what you don't start.
mm-hmm.
If you don't get out there and try, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. And him getting the one thing that he regrets the most is waiting so late in life to get started. So, those people like to throw you around a little bit, and then so do the wrestlers. So, but yeah, his kids beat him up quite a bit. So,
oh my gosh. Well, we were actually just talking about this last night, and this is something that it's a cultural thing that's happening, and it's also being taught in schools, and we're not being taught sacrifice. That children aren't being taught that if you want to become something, you're going to have to sacrifice something.
Very good. Yep.
And that's where you watch these reality shows and these, it's even being taught in school. You can have anything you want. It's all, it's all good. It's all roses, and but they're not being taught the hard choices, and everything has to be fun. Well, I'm going to tell you this, that sacrifice isn't fun. Okay. Having to, get up and I'm sure become a professional wrestler, it takes discipline. It hurts. It's not fun getting up when everyone else is sleeping. It's not fun. But what it is it's sacrifice, and it builds character. And then afterwards, that's where this the gratification comes, not this instant gratification. And then, this whole well, if you don't feel like doing it, then you need to follow your body. You need to follow this. You need to follow that. I'm like, really? Because let me tell you, like, when I'm tired and I don't want to go one more hour, but I have to because I have a deadline, or I have something to do, you got to push through that. And now, of course, there are boundaries and there is self-care. Okay, there is that. But some people take self-care to a whole nother level. So
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. What are some of the main things that you're running into with kids and mental difficulties?
A lot. So I did an event at a church last August, right? No, July, August. I did a whole series of events. And one, that's when I found out there was litter boxes, in the high schools. And I went, oh, what? And then two, I had a girl come up to me, and I think she was 10th grade, I think it was. And her mom was like, you need to talk to my daughter. And I was like, okay. And so she was talking about how, now this is in Sumner County in Tennessee, and she can't tell people that her mom is white. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I have to say she's like European. And I went, okay. And she's like, yeah, because it's not cool to be white. And I went, what? Like, where is this even coming from? And it's like, so there's that. So talk about the mental, like, processing that's going to have to take, now mind you, she was also mixed. Her dad was Latino, and that was okay. But her mom being white was not good. So she had to say she's European. And then, we've got other kids that are coming up, and I got another kid that said that, they used to bring their Bible to church, Bible to school, and they don't bring it to school anymore. I'm like, well, why? And they're like, it's just not the cool thing to do. And I got tired of people like picking on me. And I'm like, in Sumner County, Tennessee? And they're like, yeah, and so there's a whole lot more, this is mainly from guys. They're just tired of the LGBTQ stuff being shoved down their throat constantly. And they're like, look, like, whatever, you do whatever you want to do, but stop telling me that I have to accept it. And I think what kids are now, there's two different tolerances, and I hope you can agree with me on this. In me, there's the biblical tolerance and there's the cultural tolerance. There's a biblical tolerance of you love the person, hate the sin, okay, and go, hey, you know what? I get it. I get where you're coming from, because we're all sinners. I mean, I'm sitting here, I have to repent every single day, okay, because I sin. Sometimes you find me on a bad day, it might be hourly. So, but you repent every single day. So we're all whatever. But the tolerance of today, the cultural tolerance of today, is you can't disagree with me.
Yeah.
And you have to accept me. Well, no, I can disagree with you and still love you. No, because if you disagree with me, then you don't love me and you hate me. Wait, what, where did hate come in? I don't hate you. I just disagree with you. So there's, and I think that's one thing that kids today are trying to navigate through, is that, like, what is tolerance? How do I love or accept if I can't even be accepted for disagreeing, if that makes sense?
I think that is, I agree with you. And I think that the one thing that I see a lot of is that, look, kids should be able to make certain decisions, but we're not teaching them that they're not developed yet. What you think today, you are not going to think in 30 years. Okay. I mean, I used to want to find out how to become a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle for real. I only kind of want to do that now, you know, but that's not my life mission. So, there's something that, and we all know, every single one of us here understands that when we were kids, there are things that, we used to know everything. And I today, sitting here at 51, wish that I knew half what I knew when I was 16. You know, it is true because I knew everything then.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to opinions, I think that's one of the toughest thing in the world about being a business owner is that we're no longer, you know, it's not safe for us to have an opinion a lot of times because you're going to lose half of your client base if you let your opinion known. And where I think that's wrong, it's unfortunately true. Dennis?
Now, I was just going to pop in and say that honestly, I think that standing up for things that you believe in the long term is going to be better for you, not only as an individual, not only in your walk of faith, but also in your business. Because if you know, I mean, personally, if I know what somebody believes, and I know that that they have honesty, integrity, character that go along with their business, I am going to be much more likely to do business with them than somebody whose thoughts and opinions and beliefs I have no idea about because they've kept them hidden out of, for whatever reason. So honestly, I think that with any business, you have to define your clients and you have to define, who your marketplace is. Why not be proactive and say people who can either align with or can at least be agree to disagree with my opinions are who I am going to serve. So, but I wanted to pop in here just a little bit to ask Joanna because it's been a long time since I was in school. I'll be turning 67 here at the end of this week, and so I do recall that in high school that I was taught critical thinking. Is that even taught in schools anymore? I mean, honestly, at the time, this was back in the early 70s, and it was really kind of the radicals that were teaching critical thinking because all of that was being directed against the conservative, the folks that were in charge. I found out that they really didn't like the fact that I learned critical thinking because I started asking them about what their motivations were, what's going on behind this. And some 10 years afterwards, some of my teachers were so shocked that I would even be questioning what they were saying.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, ever since the Global Economic Forum got involved in schools and creating the curriculum for schools, critical thinking has not been taught for the most part. And you can trace that back for yourself. It's really about creating workers. It's about creating an employment force. It's not about creating entrepreneurs anymore. It's not about creating anything. It's all about the greater good. What is we're teaching kids in school what's for the greater good. We need to solve the problems that the Global Economic Forum feel is a problem. And if you look through a majority of the curriculums, it has everything to do with that. It's about problem solving. Well, what problem are we solving? All of the corporations that are part of the Global Economic Forum. And so there's not a lot of critical thinking being taught today. It's also it's about a lot of people. It's like, well, what are the needs of society today? Like, oh, we need engineers. Okay, well, that's great. We need this, we need that. Well, that's not really critical thinking. That's just finding out how can I fill a gap in society. well, that's not critical, that's not pushing society forward, or going, oh, well, what is it that I like to do? And so there's not a lot of critical thinking being taught. And and they do all these like these team, exercises, which I believe is good. I'm all about for team, but there's also, but what is it that you individually want to do? Where do you see a niche? I mean, when you think about it, oh gosh, I just forgot his name all of a sudden. Who created Apple Mac?
Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Thank you, Steve Jobs. I'm like, my brain just went boop.
Steve Jobs.
I mean, this is a guy that, like, in his garage figured this out, and I think he even dropped out of college and all this stuff, and we're taught go to college. And have you been in a college lately? Have you seen the indoctrination that these things do? And so anyways, the college of the 1800s is different than the college of today. But so anyways, it's not being taught. And honestly, like, they have these STEM programs, and it's hard to find a good STEM program that's actual, like, a good program, because a lot of them, if you have been indoctrinated with Marxism and how to go, forward, and a lot of it's brought in by SCORE and all that stuff. And I don't know if you guys know much about those programs, but but so anyways, it's just it's not about critical thinking. And then also, they don't teach you about the Constitution in school anymore. They don't teach you about history. They don't teach you, what you were saying earlier, Zach, about free speech. And taking a stand, and any more, not trying to get too political, but they've taken this whole free speech thing to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. And what, it's like, when you have freedom, you have responsibility too. So you also, what you say, you have to take responsibility for it. And also, if what you're saying means that I can't say what I say, there's an issue here, and so, it's, they're teaching uniformity in school more than real critical thinking.
That's actually kind of what I was just thinking, is we're losing in individuality. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a herd mentality, if anything. Mm-hmm. And I saw this, we were at a carnival the other night, and, there were maybe 2 or 3 people who stood out from being different than everybody else. Everyone was, and I like Dennis is saying, it's been a day or two since I was in school, but, but yeah, I don't remember it being that cliquey. I remember people having their own identity, and it was kind of weird. Mm-hmm. Patrick, do you want to chime in here?
Hold on, am I muted?
No,
you're good.
Okay. So one of the things that Joanna has really changed. So I've been dealing with students on that ground level for about 9-10 years now, and then always been involved in the youth industry pretty much my whole entire life. But one of the things she really changed my mind on is the level of where we need to be informed as parents, as citizens, and different things like that. When I started going, she invited me to the library board meetings, and then I'm like, I was watching these things play out in the schools, going to the schools, but I didn't really truly understand like the processes that were happening above me. and above what the community was seeing, and that was happening in politics, that was actually affecting these things. And then when I started going to these meetings and I'm looking at, what's getting ready to happen in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and stuff like that, it really actually changed my whole perspective on even my community, where it's just like, how do we actually get this information to the parents right now, and to churches? Because there's so many things that she talks about, um, especially with the curriculum that's going on with the books in the library, where um, it's just there was a time where information was kind of like you you were being informed by your news and different things like that. And the thing is, now you're not being informed at all about what's actually going on around you. Is you're actually having the scales pulled over your eyes and you're given nonsense to entertain you as opposed to inform you. And so um I don't know. Joanna, I guess the question that I have, because I kind of already know like a lot of stuff that you're doing right now, but just for the viewers, um, like what would be your greatest tip for people to be informed or even get the information that you have? Because it's a lot. Like I'm still deciphering stuff that you done showed and you put in our thread sometimes. I'm still deciphering that stuff and it's been months.
Yeah. You know, so I think I shared this with you, Patrick. I can't remember, but anyways, you know, and I had said earlier, you know, I've been involved in fighting for your rights and all that since I was 19, but I was in the medical freedom realm, and I got involved and I learned about the CDC, you know, and how legit they are, and years and years ago, and how they influence schools. And so I started learning that way, and I know how the CDC influences curriculum, how it influences funding for schools, and everything. But it wasn't until 2021 that I really started getting involved in how school boards work and how they get their funding locally and state. So let me tell you, over the last 2 years, it has been a whirlwind of learning new, lingo, new words, new everything. Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been in an accelerated college course at the last 2 years. My brain hurts sometimes. And so one thing that I had to do, and one of the things that, and this is not going to be popular with some people, but it's a truth. What I do believe is that what I do believe that has to happen is that people need to declutter their life. Okay. And if you are too busy to know what's going on in your local government, you need to take something out of your life that isn't contributing. And I know that's hard to hear because people are like, well, I'm so full. Okay, look, take it. And I had to do this. I had to take a look at how much time am I on Facebook? How much time am I watching TV? How much time, what am I doing? That is honestly eating up time. And then, I don't want to, and I mean this with no offense, so please, I hope no one takes offense to this. Sometimes you've got your kids in too many sports. If you can't figure out, and you're literally exhausted from taking them to practices, and you can't even, do life, then your child is exhausted too. And if you're not being able to find out what is the curriculum and go to a school board meeting to find out what is happening in the schools, then your life might be a little too busy because, and again, I go back to Christ. Satan has a really great way of keeping us on the treadmill of life. And we're so busy that we can't stop, one, smell the roses, okay? And we can't pay attention to anything that's happening around us because we're in this tunnel, just like this was happening in my life, this was happening in my life. And that is how we've got to where we've got, that's how we've become in the place that we're at today, because we're all so busy and just worried about what's happening in my world. Well, now we have schools that are taking away parents' rights, completely taking them away. How did that happen? You know, we have curriculum that is not teaching anymore, unfortunately. We have test scores and people say it's all because of COVID. No, if you look at the trends before COVID, we weren't going very good anywhere before COVID. And yeah, maybe a year afterwards, you know, whatever. But so you're going to have to start taking stock and at least start learning. And, you know, me, I had to learn when I moved to Tennessee, I had to learn a whole new government. We've got like 2 mayors in a county. We've got, you know, commissioners, we've got aldermen, we've got BOMAs, we've got all this stuff that you didn't have in California. And I was like, what is this? I mean, we had aldermans, but so anyways, you just have to start somewhere. And if it's school, I tell everybody to look at your schools. And this is the reason being, if you want to know where all your taxes goes to schools. Okay. If you want to know why your property taxes are increasing, it's because of schools. If you want to know anything, it's because of your schools. In Sumner County, about 75 to 80 cents of every property tax dollar goes to schools. You got about 65 cents of every retail tax dollar goes to schools. That's a whole lot. So if over 50% of your money in taxes is going to schools, you might want to find out what they're teaching in schools and what's going on in schools. Because also those kids that are in the schools is going to create the culture in the next few years. And they're the ones that's going to be voting as well. And you might want to find out what it is that they're learning. So I say get to know your school board member. Okay, ask them some really hard questions. And then usually school board meetings are twice a month. Twice a month. They have two. Put it on your calendar and go and start learning. And start there. I mean, anybody can carve out 2 nights a month. I mean, just kind of figure it out. So I hope that wasn't too harsh. I mean it, no offense at all.
No, Patrick, have one more for you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your no offense way of going about things. Because there's a lot of things where just things need to be said, and we're so afraid to say it because it's gonna step on toes. It might do something to us. I just would like, on a lighter note, what is maybe one of your greatest experiences that you have, the fondest memory of what you have of where you saw the things that you're doing make an impact in the community, and like you can look back on it and be like, oh man, I just remember this kid, or I remember this event, and like where you saw why you do what you do, and it really kind of solidified that for you.
Well, honestly, I think it's the event that I had in 2021, you know, kind of the launch of Safeguard Our Schools. And I saw in people's eyes, they went, oh my gosh, like I had no idea. and it inspired them to take responsibility and to go, okay, like I get this. And their heart was broken, but full of, because I always try to, whenever I do an event, I try to give hope, because there is hope. There's all kinds of hope. I mean, if we don't have hope, there's no reason to do anything, right? I mean, that's like, why even do anything? And I have so much hope in people when we come together in Christ, and when we unite, and we see past the bad that is happening and go, no. That's a fleeting moment, right? The bad is, we have peaks and valleys, right? And bad is just a fleeting moment. But if we push through that, then there is going to be something magnificent on the other side. And when I saw after that event in 2021, the hope that people had, that was amazing. And then when I had that event where the kids came up to me and told me about what was happening in their schools and all that they felt heard. And I went, I commit to doing something. And I said, if you'll stick in here with me, and if you'll keep telling me what's going on, we can do this together. There was a different light in their eyes, because they felt like someone actually now knows what's happening, what they're going through. So it's just, I think, again, it's when people actually listen and they hear, and then they have a hope behind it. That's what I love to hear, and what I love to see is the hope in people's eyes.
I'm going to ask Stephanie to come on real quick. And Stephanie, the reason I really wanted to ask you about this is you've got kids that are of school age.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I feel like I have a lot that I could could say about this whole conversation. I'll start by saying this. I spent a lot of time in Catholic school growing up. I was in public also, but what I'm hearing today definitely did not happen then, when I was in school. And I have 3 kids. My twins just finished 5th grade. My older one just finished 6th grade. Since the pandemic, though, they've been doing cyber school. So they've been schooling from home due to medical issues. I just did not want to play with the potential of them getting COVID and all of those things. But I can relate to what you were mentioning about the influence with the CDC and stuff, because we did come upon a rarely diagnosed medical condition 7.5 years ago. And, in some cases, it was definitely a struggle to get through some things, and they've been doing really well with the cyber program, which I'm thankful for. But more and more, I feel like I'm hearing about the schools, and I would love for them to go back. But, I'm almost like, ooh, because, I can hear, see, and be a part of their school day now. And behind closed doors, you really can't be. I do have to say, I volunteered a lot when they were in the elementary school here. So I knew the staff on a first name basis and the administration, and they were wonderful to us. And in our medical situation too, they were wonderful to us. But I think things are definitely shifting, and quickly. So I also agree a lot with you about the critical thinking and that whole topic. I think they're not building entrepreneurs. They're building soldiers that could just fit into the pockets of the workforce that they need, and not letting people think out of the box. And that's my husband and I work really hard. We're entrepreneurs. We have our own business. We've been self-employed forever. And I hope that we're showing our kids this growing up, that they have, and we kind of touched on this the last show, Zach, when I mentioned even, with my daughter wanting to explore different things, I would hate for anybody to tell a child, oh, that's not a good choice. Don't follow your passion. You should really do this because I don't know, XYZ could make more money, or that's what we need, in the state that you live in, or
this is not what a little girl does.
Right. That and that one kills me. Because I feel like, just as a boy could be a nurse, a girl could do something in construction if she wanted to, right? There shouldn't be any gender barriers, in my opinion, for, what they would like to do for work. But wow. So anyway, these issues are really concerning. What could we do? What could we do besides, going to school board meetings? Is there something else we can do locally, to inform? The more people I talk to, they don't believe that this is happening.
Yes.
I will say that because I mentioned something just recently and the person said to me, that's not true. Mm-hmm. So I don't know your thoughts on that. What could we do? Because not everybody can homeschool. I don't want to create a curriculum for my kids. Honestly, I'd rather them have, a structured curriculum. But if things were to hit the fan, I might just take that on too. I don't know. But what could we do locally, Joanna, to really help the greater good, not just our own families?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what you're saying is that people are like, well, it's not really happening. It's not really happening. Like, there's no way. I mean, here in Sumner County, we're one of the most conservative, counties in Tennessee or something like that. And, so, there's a church, I think, on every corner. And they're like, no, that's not happening. That can't be happening here. And I'm like, but it is. As a matter of fact, here in Sumner County, we were the pilot county for this curriculum that is loaded with critical race theory and social emotional learning and all this stuff. It's like right here, that was Sumner County. And the last 2 years, it's been, we've been trying to tell parents and trying to get them involved and, hey, this is what's happening, and showing them. It's so funny. I'll show them the books. I'll show them the curriculum. I'll even tell them about bills that are coming up, and like, no, this is coming up, like, just so you know. And they're like, oh, no. And they still don't believe. And I think that's why we started going, you know what, we got to go to the teens. We've got to give them a place to give them a voice, because that's where we have to show them. We have to show the parents, no, this is really happening. And, and I think that, in the beginning, when I started down this road, I was angry. Oh my gosh. I was like, what are you adults aren't paying attention. Like, what's going on here? Like, how can you not know this? And I had to really pray on that, and I had to give some grace, because some people just don't want to believe that this is happening. They're just like, no, because they've got so much going on in life. They don't want to take on something else. You know what I mean? And then there's the people that just in their heart, they go, I can't, no, I don't want to believe this. No, like they think of like I'm 46. So I went to school a long time ago. I started when the No Child Left Behind just started. And that's a whole nother series. But anyways, so I was in school. I was the first generation that did the standardized testing, but it didn't determine whether I graduated or not. We did it in 9th grade, and then we did it again in 12th grade, and it didn't matter. They were just like, we were the guinea pigs. So anyways, so my schooling was so different, because a lot of people don't even understand that the federal Board of Education didn't even start till the 1980s. Like, people think, oh, well, we've had a Board of Education, since the beginning of time. No, we didn't. It wasn't until 1980. And so my experience in school and the curriculum that the teachers used, they created their own, lessons. Nowadays, they're given a curriculum. They're literally told what to say, when to say, how to say it, and all this stuff. Like I could probably go be a facilitator and, go into a teaching and become a teacher. And I'm not saying that teachers don't work hard, but I'm saying it's different than it was when I went to school. So anyways, honestly, what it is I would encourage you to have coffees at your house, to invite people, go to a coffee shop, start talking to people, and showing them, and then have them invite their high schoolers and their middle schoolers and go, hey, I'm just curious, like what's going on in school? Because teenagers want to talk about it.
Yes.
They want to talk about it. And I hear this from parents all the time. Well, if my kid's not complaining, then what's the big deal? And I'm like, well, they're being taught not to complain to you. They're being taught not to tell you. So they're not going to come and tell you. So parents need to realize that. So it's I'm all about grassroots. I've always been about grassroots. So it's like, just start talking to people in your community and then asking them to bring their teenagers and go, hey, I just want to hear. Just tell me. And you'll learn a whole lot then. Does that make sense?
We got Mr. Z. You're up, my brother.
Thank you, Michelangelo. Great to see you again. Well, nice to meet you, Joanna. And I'll make it very short because I know we're running on time. No offense taken. First and foremost, pretty accurate what you're saying. And it's come to the point now where we have to filter ourselves not to offend anyone. And Zach and I have often commented that we have to say certain professions based on their preferences. You talked about getting involved with schools and they only meet twice a month. And you're right. Anyone can make time for a board meeting, twice a month. It's not a lot to ask for. Just going back to the story or the event that you talked about in regards to hiding a certain ethnicity because it's not cool. That's a bit concerning if that's what kids are saying these days, and not to put words in your mouth, and hiding certain books because they were picked on for believing in certain beliefs. All I can say to that is, it's hard to agree with people that are always disagreeing. And if I were to summarize my experience with that, some people would say, and I mean, you look at me, you would imagine, some people would say, I can't do that because of my religion. Okay, I understand, but you cannot do that because of my religion. Then I would say, hey, look, I accept you, but I can't do things because you don't accept me for who I am. So what I'm trying to say is, love all, we're all equals, and keep up the good work, Joanna. I have a lot more to say, but I just want to say that it's always good to have you here, and let's just try to get along.
Well, I think Joanna, I think one of the things that we really need to do, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone here, but we're going to have to get you back on to talk about your work with the libraries as well. There's so much more that you can offer out here, and unfortunately, we've only got a 1 hour show. The one thing I'd like to ask you real quick, Ted Koppel, on the night of the 2016 election, said that news today is not like the news of yesterday, because they would report the news, and now news's responsibility is to create the news. Is this one of the reasons in your eyes why people just plain, pure and simple don't give a damn about what's going on in the news? I don't know how many times I hear every day, well, I don't pay attention to the news. Well, how can you have an opinion if you don't pay attention? And this is not saying anything bad about people, because look, I know listening to the bickering is disgusting, but that's one of the, when Ted Koppel said that, I stood up in my front room and applauded. I loved that. But do you see that as one of the problems we have today?
Well, what I feel is that unfortunately, a lot of the news isn't news today, as you said, and I think that, oh gosh, what is the act that Obama put into place that changed the way news was reported? Oh my gosh, I just had it while you were talking. But anyways, there was an act that Obama put into place that actually changed the way news can be reported. I cannot remember it. I'll have it for you. But anyways, and so now what I do believe is that, just like with anything, and this is why this is spiritual warfare, confusion causes complacency and causes inaction. And today, the news, what it reports is confusing, and people have to sort through so much mud to get to what is the truth, that I think people just start tuning out and just going, I don't know what's truth anymore. I don't know what's real anymore. I'm too tired to figure it out, so I'll just stop listening. And so unfortunately, that is true. And I do believe that people do need to find a true news source that will tell the truth. And I do believe that because news has changed, that people just don't want to get involved anymore, because they're tired of the drama. They got enough drama in their life. They don't want to deal with the drama anymore. Does that make sense? I hope that helps.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of funny. I went to go and look up what it was called, but unfortunately, all I got was opinion pieces. So,
I'll get the act for you for sure. It was in my head, and because Obama signed an act that changed the way news is reported, and I'll send that to you.
All right. Sounds great. And maybe we can talk about it when we have you back on to talk about your library stuff. So, Joanna, thank you very much for joining us. We go around now and we talk about something that really struck us. Stephanie, let's start with you.
I just want to say thank you so much for being here and sharing all of that, and using this platform to share that out. But confusion causes complacency and inaction, and that is huge. So that's my takeaway.
Mr. Z?
I'm going to have to co-tell what Steph said, and if you confuse them, you'll lose them, or they'll lose their minds.
Patrick? You're muted.
See,
there
my
you
mouth
go.
moving, nothing's coming out. I work with you, so yeah, just my takeaway is that I guess we still got a whole lot to do. That's it. Thank you.
And Dennis.
Yes, and in a similar capacity as Patrick, I have the honor of being able to work with Joanna, so I know a lot of what you're doing. And what I would say is the key for me, takeaway from this, is get involved at the local level. You think you know what's going on, but if you don't attend those meetings, you really don't. And it makes a huge difference. We saw in Sumner County here over the last year and a half how one person started attending meetings of my city in White House and made a difference and got a better person elected as mayor on the most recent election. That's because of one mom actually attending, reporting on what she heard. But everybody needs to be involved in that. So
yeah. I'll tell you this, I completely agree with everyone on here, is that it's just a true damn crime right now that it's not okay to have a different opinion. Look, the truth is that just because I voted for the other idiot doesn't mean that you voted right. That's just kind of the way it is. You know, you're Catholic, I'm Muslim. What does that matter in the long run? We're all human. We all need to live together. We all need to learn and love together. Joanna, I'd like to give you a real quick moment to close us out. Anything that you would like to tell everybody about yourself, or fill us in about your event even?
Well, I like what you just said, because our event is Teens Unite. The first one is coming up on this Friday. And our theme is unity in love. And that is our theme. And there is so much hate in the world today. And hate never cured anything. It never made anything, but love does. And if we can learn to love as Christ loved, and just open our hearts and actually truly love, that is the only way that we're going to hear somebody, that we're going to make a change, and then we're actually going to be united. It is all about unity and love.
Thank you so very much again. This was a very educational show, and I think that we're really going to have to look into maybe making this a little bit longer, because we're running out of time every week, and our guests are just great. So it makes running out of time annoying, because there's so much more we could ask you. But you know, that's something we'll work on. But please, will you join us again here in the near future?
I absolutely would. I am so honored. Thank you all so much. It has been such a pleasure to meet Mr. Z and Stephanie and Zach. Honestly, this was a blessing for me, and I so appreciate everything that you all are doing. And thank you so much for having me. And Dennis and Patrick, I'll see you guys on Friday.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds great. Just to let you guys know, yes, we're very honored to have you, Joanna. Please join us again next week. And as we've stated, you know what? Look, your opinions are a great thing, but they're opinions, and it's okay for someone else to have another opinion. If you know somebody who needs help, please make sure you reach out to somebody, because look, lives are being lost every day, and there's no reason why we cannot be there for them. So we're just asking you to watch out for each other, because we're all we got. We will see you next week with a new guest, and we will get Joanna on here really soon. But we thank you guys very, very much. We'll be on right before the 4th of July. So, but if you can't join us, happy 4th of July. We will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.